10 years ago, Jaclyn Lanae found what she was looking for. At 26 years old, she'd been chasing goals and objects she thought would make her happy, but never did. She was disillusioned, sad, and apathetic until something changed her entire perspective on life as we go along the way just west of Rapid City. Falling Rock is a place to stop and take in the eye-catching views.
It's a beautiful hiking and rock climbing area that's just well loved by the Black Hills and all over the world, honestly.
And in all the world, one of the things Rapid City's Jaclyn Lanae loves is motorcycles.
There's something about the independence and the control and the freedom and the experience, the smell, the sounds.
But it was an unintended stop in this very place 10 years ago that led to a life-changing shift in perspective of joy, peace, and happiness.
I truly believe that my soul wanted this, that it was destined for me to be able to understand and have this perspective.
It was August 2006. Jaclyn was a passenger on a motorcycle in a terrible crash on this very curve, where both she and the driver were injured but survived. She remembers nothing of the accident, but strongly believes no one is to blame and describes it to the best of her understanding.
Is that I would have hit the side of the truck just past that first yellow marker down there, and when I hit the road, the trailer that he was hauling with the Bobcat on it ran over my legs and shredded most of the flesh off, but also kicked me back to the other side of the road here, severed an artery in one of my legs, and so I was bleeding out on the side of the road. I officially coded in the helicopter and again at the Rapid City Regional Facility. Almost every bone on the left side of my body was broken. Lacerated liver and spleen, both lungs had collapsed. When my parents first arrived at the hospital, was that I had a 50% chance of surviving if they amputated both of my legs.
She says her mother fought in favor of saving both her legs and her life, when neither was a sure thing. The trauma so severe, she was kept in an induced coma for 2 weeks. Flowers everywhere, bouquet after bouquet. Her fighting spirit waking up.
And my family was told she'll never walk again. You know, even if she keeps her legs, she'll never walk again. But 2 months into my stay at the hospital, I gained the strength to be able to stand. I remember the first steps in the hospital itself being scary, and I was glad to get back in my bed, and not just because it hurt. And that bothered me. I just carried around this fear with me all of the time that my body would literally, I would fall and my body would literally break apart at all of the little seams.
So she learned how to fight the fear.
But you have to shut the fear up, and you can do that. You just have to say, shut up, I'm doing it anyway.
And while the fear did not vanish, neither did her will to overcome.
When I first got out of the hospital, everything was terrifying. And by that I mean everything. Taking the first steps was horrifying. Cracks in sidewalks, little pieces of gravel. I am not a graceful person anyway.
Step by step, she moved forward.
I was using a wheelchair and a walker, and then I got to let go of the walker, and the wheelchair, and just use the walker. And I had this great sense of hope, kind of, and it was brief, but it was powerful. And for a minute, I was glad that I was alive, and that was something that I hadn't felt since I'd been in the hospital. And prior to that, not in years.
And as her body healed, a life lesson was revealed that changed everything.
All of these criteria that had made me so sad and really just sort of apathetic about life in general didn't matter. And I understood that the gift of life is just the living.
After nearly losing everything, she learned to savor the small things.
The joy that we get from our lives is really in our heads. It's a frame of mind. And when you have a sense of gratitude about the tiniest little gifts, the tiniest little things, they become the most tremendous treasures.
About 7 months after the accident, she began to ride again.
The motorcycle was absolutely the most daunting of the, marks of healing for me. But it was also non-negotiable.
A decade later, turns out this place known for eye-catching views, this place where her life almost ended, is also the place where her journey to happiness began.
Our lives are the gift. The way that we love, the way that we live, the way that we feel joy, that's the whole point. That's why we're here, that's what we share with other people.
If you've met someone cool along the way, please call or email us to let us know. And there is so much more to her story. It's almost like there should be a book. And indeed, there is. It's called The Me I Was. Jackie wrote it. And it's one of those reads that just could change the way you look at life.
I love her attitude. I mean, she really, talk about seeing the silver lining in what could have been horribly tragic, and she came out of it a better person.
Ironic that the perspective change and something that could have been negative, like you said, turned out to be entirely positive.